Hello and welcome to the Robbies Podcast, your destination for in-depth discussion and analysis of the Premier League and the Champions League. I'm Robbie Mustoe, he's Robbie Earle, and here are today's topics. Liverpool humble Manchester United as they put 7 past them. Arsenal completes an amazing comeback win versus the Cherries as they stay 5 points clear at the top of the table. Manchester City easily beats a toothless Newcastle United. Tottenham failed to rebound from an FA Cup defeat with an away loss at Wolves. And Chelsea gets a much-needed win at home against Leeds United. That's what we've got coming up in today's episode. All right, Robbie Earle, my friend. Only one place to start. One of the most stunning scorelines that we have ever seen in our coverage of the Premier League. Yeah. Of watching it, I think it's a tied record of Manchester United's biggest ever in the history of the club loss. Yeah. I think the ones before in the 20s and the 30s, we had a graphic on the show today about it.
Yeah,
just an amazing game of football, an amazing kind of difference in two halves. Obviously, we've had a reaction in the studio, Rob. What did you feel like was happening? I'll tell you what, can we start at the beginning? Because part of the story, in my opinion, Rob, is the team. Is Erik ten Hag's team. I think from Liverpool's point of view in terms of the lineup, there wasn't that many surprises. Manchester United, and we kind of teased it before the game, you know, my goodness, we're going to see Rashford against Trent Alexander-Arnold. That didn't happen. Were you surprised at the team selection and the positioning of Erik ten Hag in this United team?
I can't say surprised, Rob, because I've seen it work to good effect. It used it against Barcelona. Weghorst behind Rashford. Bruno on the left was a little bit more maybe a surprise on that side. Anthony on the right-hand side. But we have seen him use that system. We have seen him use Weghorst in the 10 position, and it's worked okay. They've won games against Barcelona. I think he changed the game recently. I was working with a game a couple of weeks ago where he took Rashford off the left against Leeds. He took Rashford off the left when Earle was getting tight to him and he wasn't getting much joy. He put him centrally, put Weghorst in the hole again, the 10, and we were all kind of doesn't quite fit, but it worked. It obviously wasn't working today for a number of reasons. We didn't see the best of Rashford. Weghorst couldn't compete in the game and influence the game from a central position. You didn't get the best out of Bruno from the left-hand side, who ended up being more worried with Trent than he did getting on the ball and creating and doing what he wants to do. Bruno's somebody I'd like to come back to a little bit later in our conversations. But listen, I have to say that what I've seen from Ten Hag in the past, I've understood. I've sometimes not always agreed with it, but he's done it and it's worked. So I can't straight away come and criticise what he did. What I would say is it took a while to change, and by the time he changed, the game had gone. That would be probably my takeaway from that, where a day when it wasn't working, when I say it wasn't getting the best out of Rashford, who had few touches, wasn't getting the best out of Bruno, couldn't control the game, wasn't getting the best out of Weghorst. That was my surprise that he didn't earlier change things around. But to be honest, Rob, I suppose if you're looking from Ten Hag's point of view, they're 1-0 down from a sloppy goal from their point of view, good goal from Liverpool's that gets them a 1-0 lead. They're 1-0 down at half time with, okay, Liverpool had the better of things, but they're still very much in a game at that point.
But don't you think, even though they're in a game, they're still gone in behind, Rob? There still was the issue of Rashford not being involved. I totally agree. Those three
all
players,
those things.
You know, Weghorst as a number 10. I mean, he'll work hard as a 10 and he'll get around players, which is good. He's not a creative 10, we know that. And maybe you're right, Rob. It has been used before and the results have been good. Bruno as a left winger, not really having it. Maybe that was a cautious one.
No.
But I don't think it was cautious, because he would have changed it back. If it was a cautious one when they were behind, he would have switched Rashford out there. I just still can't. And I understand that what's happened a lot is that Rashford started on the left-hand side. He's moved infield to play striker, and he scored. So I get that. But I was just shocked that we didn't see that at all, given the way that Liverpool play, given the way that Trent has so much license to go forward, that's where a big chunk of space was, in that right-back spot. that Bruno doesn't really want to go into, and nobody else. So I still question that, Rob. And at half-time with the changes, or early in the second half, we've given so much praise to Erik ten Hag. He's made massive difference with his substitutions. This wasn't the case. Why was that, Rob? Why? What he did this time made no difference. Are the issues that we'll get to in a second, United, in this game, were they bad enough to override anything he could have done in terms of his substitutes?
Yeah, I think we have to slightly come away from personnel and tactics. Let's just talk about drive, endeavour, will to win, 50-50,
which is what he said they would have been brilliant
transitions. Yeah, let's talk about those things, because actually Liverpool were superior in those areas. Liverpool got to a level, Rob, and I'm going to hold my hands up. I wasn't sure they had in them anymore. We were talking about a Liverpool team last week against Crystal Palace who looked flat, who looked one-paced, who couldn't change gear. I was questioning whether this team could get back to it. Let me tell you, with a front three that were absolutely on fire, and that's a separate conversation, but everything behind it, Rob, that clicked into place, that had some energy, that had some drive, that won 50-50s, that did good jobs in possession, then you play to that front three, Rob, the new look front three, and wow, all of a sudden, the new look front three with Jota on the bench, with Diaz back in training, and with Bobby Firmino coming to the end, but we still know can be an important player. Wow, that doesn't half look different. That doesn't half make me look a little bit silly saying they can't get, because I tell you what, and it might be a one-off, and we'll see between now and the end of the season how many days they get back to that kind of level. But I think Jurgen Klopp's words at the end were, that was us. That's just a reminder to us and a reminder to everybody that's who we can be.
Yeah, and that front three, Rob, I think we all understand that was money well spent, and also the players to come back, as you mentioned, Luis Diaz in particular. That's been a part of the team that most people would agree that's going to come good, and there's good signs there. I think Gakpo, that's a breakout game for Cody Gakpo, Rob, in the way that we did it in a tactics session, didn't we? Didn't we do it where I did it in a breakdown or something?
Did a couple of weeks, but he drops off and
and there's changes with
comes to that left hand side.
Yeah, does that a lot. So that side of it, amazing, but behind it is where that's been lacking. And today, for a couple of different reasons that I think we'll get onto in a second, that was all right. And when that bit behind that front three is right, then they look formidable going forward, and it is a reminder of what they're capable of. And I'm pleased for the two new guys in that front three. It was like, all hail the front three of the past. Well, here's a new front three, and Mo Salah getting 129 goals, top goal scorer.
129 now,
for Liverpool.
Yeah, beat Robbie Fowler, hasn't he? His record of all-time Premier League goal scorer.
Premier League goals,
it's incredible in the time he's done it, Rob. Yeah, incredible.
Just in the bigger picture, Rob, back to United.
It's funny, just before we move on that, and maybe we're going the same place, but you look at that front three, and you look at, the riches that they have got coming off the bench and the like. One of the reasons Manchester United were hamstrung, I think, into a little bit of how he played today was because he haven't got anyone else to fill the number 9 shirt, Rob. They've got nobody consistent. Weghorst is Weghorst, and we're not going to knock him. He's done what he's done. Martial, you can't rely on. There's nobody else in the football club who can play as a number 9 apart from Marcus Rashford. If you're going to play Bruno as a false 9, listen, it ain't really going to work. Doesn't get the best of Bruno, doesn't get the best of the team. For what Manchester United need, it screams out now, they need a centre-forward at the top end of the pitch who can help knit what they've got together. If they've got a Gakpo or a Nunez at the top end of the pitch, looks very different for Man United. Put Rashford back out on the left, Bruno in the hole. Yeah,
well, and it makes it a little bit more painful because Erik ten Hag wanted Cody Gakpo, Rob, wasn't it? I mean, he wanted him to be that guy, and for whatever reason, they couldn't bring him in. They didn't bring him in, and of course he's gone to Liverpool, and today is obviously a reminder of what he can do. Just another angle, Rob, and by the way, that's a great point, and that's something that the club will have to look at, and they all know it, and the manager knows it. The fans know that they need a new number 9 there to help him, then gives Rashford the flexibility to take a break or to play left and sometimes in the middle. That's obvious. The other thing, Rob, just a slightly different angle on this, and and by the way, just how crazy is football? From last weekend, right? And I'll go both clubs. A League Cup victory, a trophy for Erik ten Hag, the first trophy that he can possibly win, the League Cup. He wins it. So much praise, Rob, about the strength mentality, the winners they've got, and Casemiro and Martin, everybody else. To go from that elation to today is stunning. But also, as you said, Palace, from where they were flat to go to that is amazing. On United, though, Rob, was there a sense of, we've cracked it, we've won a trophy, complacency? Come on then, Liverpool, we've got whatever you've got. Was there too much praise, too much self-confidence going into this game where they felt that they didn't have to, in this massive rivalry, give 100%, Rob? 100%. We've talked about this before. Not 98 or 97. They didn't want to give 100% because of the success that they've had and the belief that they're there, they've arrived, that they can beat Liverpool. Did they? Was it complacent? Was there a little bit of lack of respect of the sides of this match?
It's a good point, and I don't think you can talk about the performance without that becoming part of the conversation. I think we've talked last week and we praised the group of winners and how they've won, and I think they still. And I have to take the first half, Rob, as an indicator of how the game started. There was a more determined drive and energy and effort from Liverpool that was the difference between the two teams. Regardless of Liverpool had a few good chances, United had a couple of chances themselves. Regardless of how that went, it just felt like Liverpool wanted that game a little more, and that. Manchester United have to understand, with under Ten Hag or whoever, that they're still Manchester United and it's still a big game and they still have to turn up every week. And you're right that maybe there is or was a little bit from some, and I'm not saying from everybody, but from some, like, well, that's our first one. We're back Man United. We're reading all the media about us. We're in 3 tournaments. A little bit of that can come, and I think Ten Hag's the right kind of manager to make sure how that's addressed. I think there'll be messages to the dressing room this week. I think people will be allowed to show that wasn't them over the next week or two. But I think if people don't buck up, Rob, he's a sort who'll make changes. I don't think he'll stand by anybody too much and say, I think it's one of those where it'll never be something he wants, because you could see he was embarrassed today at the end of the game. He was embarrassed for what he's done at this football club, where he looks to be taking this football club, that they can go back to what we saw today, which was like United at the beginning of the season. But I think, Rob, what he will do is use this as a learning tool for this group. Like, we ain't quite as good as we think we are yet. We've won a League Cup, but we're still a lot behind. This is a Liverpool team who've challenged for the very top over the last 4 or 5 seasons. And then when they were at their very best today, they were too good for us. So we still got a little bit of catching up to do. 34 points was it last season, the difference between Liverpool and Man United. It looked like 34 points today.
Just a couple of headlines I read, Rob, just between the game and coming on and doing the show here. The former United players that are pundits now in the UK, very, very harsh words about this squad and words like disgrace, embarrassed and all that kind of stuff, collapse. What do you? Are they the type of words that should be used for today? Is it a blip? We had the conversation. Tim Howard kind of said, you know what, it's a blip. They're in the right way, which we understand they're in the right way. But is it a blip, a bad day, or in the future do they have to worry that? I guess it won't be 7 again. They won't be Liverpool in such great form that scored with almost every blooming shot on target they had. Is there a concern, Rob? That's what I'm saying. Is there a concern that in certain moments that the team can collapse and just go missing?
I think some of the reactions are a little bit overreaction. I think that's what happens in the media. Shambles and disgrace. It's one of the worst defeats the football club's ever had. A great club like Manchester United over the years losing 7-0 to its biggest rival. That hurts, because back in the day everybody has known what this fixture is about. What I would say, Rob, is it's a learning for the group and the manager. But I think the manager and the group, in fairness, deserve a little bit more than that, Rob. They've come from a difficult place to be one of the most consistent teams in the league and look like they're going to finish top 4.
Yeah.
I think, they've got one trophy in the bag already. They're still probably ahead of where people thought this football club could be at this stage. Then there's 2 or 3 more windows before I think we're fully judging Ten Hag and Ten Hag's real Manchester United. And because of that, I just think that, listen, I understand why people say it and it'll grab the headlines and that's what people want. But, I think let's take a slightly more considered view of what we've seen, what we've witnessed in the past, the growth of this football club, the development of the football club. Under, circumstances that are not ideal, the team's not as balanced quite as it should be. It's missing 1 or 2 people who would make a difference, Ericsson in particular. So, no, I think, for me, Rob, it's a day of just a reminder. Yep. We're not there yet. All the Fergie talk and the legacies and what's going to come. Let's just put that on hold a bit. We've still got a little bit of work to do.
Just before we move on from the game, Rob, let's quickly go to Liverpool and the question will be, and all the listeners and viewers of this podcast, Rob, will want to know: are they back now? Is this it? They found a way. If the front three, are they going to? It's.
This league, mate.
Know,
this league kills.
Is there anything in particular today that makes you think that Liverpool can consistently, the boost that this game must give them, or are we going to be on next week, Rob? They've got Bournemouth away. Next weekend. Are we going to be talking about a disappointing follow-up to this amazing game?
Well, that's the question, mate. That's the question right there. That's the point. And it's and what they've shown, Rob, today, what they've shown me, and I didn't think was there, that they can get back to some of those high intensity levels that I didn't think were there. So that's within them. So now the question is, why do we not see it more regularly? Well, is the drive, is the hunger, is the desire there to do that now? That's going to be really my look for Liverpool from now at the end of the season. Because all of a sudden, Rob, it's 7-0 and you're looking at that front three and you're looking at Klopp and you're looking at how it's all starting to fall back into place and you're thinking, this is a team who could go to Madrid and go and get a result. If they have one of them days and that forward line's up absolutely on fire, don't write that off at the moment, because anything could happen with this group. But what I would say is, Rob, it'll be about the hunger and the drive and like how much does this team want to get back there. If that's what it's going to show us. Not that they can do it, because they can do it. They've shown us today they can do it. I want to mention little Harvey Elliott in midfield today, Rob. I want to mention him not because he was brilliant with his passing, brilliant with... Do you know what, today? He skipped around, he was tireless, he was fearless, he was energetic, and I thought others picked off him, and he makes some mistakes, and tactically at times he's not always in the right spot, but I just thought his energy, Rob, was important for the team. And sometimes you just need that. Bajcetic is a lovely footballer, a little bit more controlled and a little slower in his movements. I just thought the energy of Harvey Elliott was really, really important to Liverpool today, as well as Fabinho did and Hendo in there. Little Harvey Elliott's energy, Rob, meant something. And I thought kick-started a few fires for a few people in around the team.
Also, the player I mentioned as well, that I just want to see more. I want to see more of him. In the heart of the defence, Ibrahima Konate, Rob. We know he's had his injury issues. I'm saying that he's a brilliant player. I think he's a wonderful talent. He's got to find...
He's part of their best back four now. Their best back four is Trent, Robbo, Konate and Van Dijk. That's the best four now, mate.
Yeah, and we know that Liverpool fans want another centre-back, they want midfield players. But if Konate can fulfil, can stay fit, can be that guy, well, that takes the pressure off of big money spending for a centre-back. They've got an excellent one in Konate. I remember the Champions League final. He was like one of the best players on the park that day. If he can be the player that I think he can be, maybe it focuses, Rob. Maybe it gives them more money in the market for the midfield players, the Jude Bellinghams, the others, maybe the Mason Mount. There's been talk about him being the first choice for Liverpool if he doesn't sign a new contract or whatever. So, no, a stunning game of football. I think there was 8 shots on target from Liverpool. 7 goals, Rob.
8 shots, seven goals. Incredible.
And Mo Salah, Rob, do you give him a quick... Tell me about Mo Salah as well, the record holder. I mean, what an amazing
129
player.
Premier League goals.
Yeah.
I mean, and he was one, Rob, who questions were asked, the big contract. A few weeks ago, we were having the same discussion. And I've read a couple of things over the last few weeks where they said between now and the end of the season, we'll find out a little bit about Mo and his love for the club. And, all of a sudden he's bang back on form. Do you know before the goals, Rob, before he'd assisted in goals or scored his goals, I tell you what, 3 or 4 times he ran back and helped Trent out of trouble, ran back and got his foot in on things, on the edge of his box, defending for his life. And after the game, talking about how great it was to get the record, but how even greater it was to do it against United. He was proper fired up, proper invested in the club and what it means for them. And that I thought it was fabulous for a guy who's scores so many goals, who could be a little bit more arrogant and a little bit more of a superstar. He rolled his sleeves up today, put a shift in, and it's an incredible record. Robbie Fowler, we played against, and with no Robbie a little bit, what a brilliant finisher, he's a natural finisher, but to surpass that. Yeah. Sorry, Rob, just before we go, and I have to go down this line, and it's one that it doesn't particularly please me, but I thought I feel I have to voice it. And he was your underappreciated player of the week a couple of weeks ago, Bruno Fernandes. I was so disappointed in him today, mate, as a captain of Manchester United. And again, when things weren't going well, I thought he sucked. I thought he fell out with a few of his own teammates. I thought he was off with all the opposition. He went to push a linesman. He was lucky that if he'd have been seen, he might have got himself certainly a yellow, if possibly a red. Lost control of himself, and then comes out after and talks about how disappointed. I was so disappointed in him today as a top-class performer, Manchester United captain, a player who we talked about, who assists and scores and does all these things. I thought he harmed his team today rather than helped his team when they got better.
Very interesting point, Rob, and I can't disagree. I think it's a good observation. I'm sure he wasn't thrilled about playing on the left wing. I'm sure he wasn't thrilled about the way the game was going. But you're right. No, but you're right. Who cares? Like, you're the captain or whatever. You're a senior player. You've got to find a way to help your team, and whether And I think I love him as a footballer. I love his creativity and the assist that he does.
We all love him.
But you're right. You want to be a top class player, a team like Manchester United. In times like that, he's got to behave a little bit differently. Yeah, it's a good shout. It's a good shout, Rob.
Yeah.
Okay,
let's move it on. Great day for Liverpool. We've got great days all over. We got great days at the Emirates, my friend. It didn't start great days. It started 2-0 down to Bournemouth, an Arsenal team where we're all starting to say, okay, this wobble might not be so bad. But they're 2-0 down, Rob. I think everybody's, if not watching the game, is watching social media to see how this one plays out, and they get back to 2-1. They get back to 2-2. And we've got, I think, 10 minutes or so to go. And we're thinking, it's interesting. Well, 2-2 draw from a 2-0 defeat. And then we get something special. I mean, incredible, extraordinary scenes, Rob, that I'm thinking, I go back to Villa a few weeks ago with Jorginho with a shot that hits the bar, that hits Emi Martinez, that goes in. Incredible. We see Reece Nelson come off the bench, a young player who's not had much time, who controls, hits a shot with his weaker side, with his left foot that rifles to the back of the net. Then we see scenes, Rob, on the pitch, and I was kind of, when you get caught up in it, you're like, wow. It reminded me, and I have to go back, and our older viewers will remember, and I went back to because I wanted to get it right. It was 1993, Manchester United played Sheffield Wednesday. Steve Bruce scored a header from a corner, and it was a shot of Brian Kidd and Sir Alex Ferguson running on the pitch, going on their knees, and it was their first Premier League title that season. They scored late on against Sheffield Wednesday. That was their first Premier League title. And it was one of those moments, it's replayed as like, that was the day that United stepped forward. And I can't yet, I think because it's City chasing them and because of the situation, because we still don't know Arsenal over a 38-game season, we still can't quite say this could be the defining moment, Rob, but it's going to be in there. It's going to be replayed, whether they win it or they don't win it, whether they go close or come second. That moment was incredible. The scenes, the players on the pitch, the stadium. I mean, I was trying to think, and maybe you'll know better, Has the Emirates had a bigger moment than that? Would that be the biggest moment in the Emirates to date? I mean, I'm thinking since 2004 last title. I mean, they haven't really been that close to winning a title before, going, where we thought it could be theirs, have they?
I don't think so. I
they
think
finished second a few years ago.
Somebody might have talked about a European night game. I can't remember which game it was now. There might have been a big European night game or something that was a stunning performance, a stunning comeback. I mean, a good friend of mine, Rob, I've had quite a lot of friends that support Arsenal, but one of them texted me with something I thought was interesting. It's like this connection that's been nurtured over the last season or so with the manager and the players, and sometimes they talk about over celebrating and going to the fans and all that. But I don't know, this guy was saying to me in the text, like, the fans, the connection now is so strong that whatever happens on the field of play, the fans believe that their support can pull the team through. And we saw it. We saw it firsthand when they played West Ham United in the Boxing Day, the first return from the World Cup break. We were there. We witnessed it. And you talk about big moments. There's been probably 3 or 4. I think we showed a graphic on our air, Rob, about 90-plus minute goals from Arsenal, winners, and there's been multiple of them. The only thing I would say in that, and the boost that you get from that, it ticks the box that I always look to see which club, and I've said it a million times, which club do we feel something special's happening at? And you have to say at Arsenal now, there's something special happening there. And the momentum and the belief and the confidence and the togetherness is phenomenal coming into a run in the last third of the season, really. The only other side of the coin would be, Rob, this it's taken these gigantic, incredible moments to win games. And can that continue? Are they winning games? Is it really difficult in certain days, and there's multiple ones of them, that winning is incredibly difficult? We're going to talk about Manchester City in a second, that don't seem to need as many of those. I'm not saying that that's going to stop Arsenal, but if you're an Arsenal fan, would you be concerned that, my goodness, we're needing these amazing moments to keep winning games, to keep that gap at the top?
I hear the point, and it's a point well made. Where I would probably differ is, I would say, because we're finding a way to find these moments, it's giving me more belief that this something that's happening is happening, and this something that's happening could go all the way. We're finding ways, Rob. It's not that we're getting there, and this could have been a 2-2 draw, which still wouldn't be a bad result from being 2-0 down with an hour on the clock.
But champions at home to Bournemouth, Rob. Champions at home to Bournemouth. Should they be 2-0 down? Should they be having to do that? But
maybe that's what this Arsenal team have to get through this year to do that, and then maybe they become a City or a Liverpool or a United of the past or a Chelsea, where you have a little bit more. This is a young group of players, Rob. It's a terribly young group of players. I mean, the first goal, and you did a great job of highlighting it on the team, Bournemouth work, the most basic, like one guy goes one side, 5 go the other, we go down the side, we cross it in the box, we score in 10 seconds.
Amazing.
I mean, it's like, let's get over that first. I mean, it's incredible that those tactics still work. But they got over that. Then they get over the second goal that goes in from the corner, bad defending. And, for a young team, Rob, it would almost be like, my bigger question would be like, wow, this young team I know found a way to come back. The other person who I just got to jump on here, and he's not Pep yet, he's not Klopp yet, he's not Wenger yet, but Mikel Arteta, my friend, deserves. We've got to start giving this guy a little bit more credit than. He makes changes at the start of the game, does rest Jack and White. White doesn't work. He makes a change, Tomiyasu on, White on. White gets the goal. He put Emile Smith-Rowe for Trossard. Trossard gets the knock. Emile Smith-Rowe comes on. He eventually takes Emile Smith-Rowe off after Emile Smith-Rowe. Nelson comes on, gets the goals, gets the thing. He makes some decisions, Rob. We talked about Ten Hag, we talk about Pep, we talk about Klopp. He's in there making big decisions for his football club that at the moment seem to be getting his team the right results. And he deserves a lot of credit for what he's done and what he's built. And, as much as anything, Rob, I'm like, we've got a proper race. I think, regardless of what happens now between now and the end, I think we got a proper race. I think this goes all the way.
I do too, Rob.
And that's a credit to Arsenal. That's a credit to Arsenal.
We'll talk City in a minute, Rob. But Arsenal, back to Arteta. You've got to give players rests and breaks at some point. They don't want to, and we've talked about Arsenal. The team, it's like there it is, unchanged. Yep, there it is. There might be the odd one or one change possibly. So you're right. He has to make the changes. But to be fair, he made them for this game against Bournemouth at home, and it maybe looks a little complacent, like this only Bournemouth. But he quickly made the fixes to get back again. That's how hard it is. You know, a City, they can rotate so easily, and they win games almost whatever team they play out. But Arsenal, finding this position, want to capitalise. They want to make the most of it, and don't really want to go away from that best 11. They did it. They got away with it.
Yeah.
They move on. And you're right. That little gap, they've got 5-point cushion, isn't it? Still 12 games left.
Cushion,
equal points.
Yeah.
We're going to talk City now, and I think they're going to need that gap because as we do transition, Rob, if that's okay with you, I thought Man City were excellent. That against a Newcastle side that may be a little deflated from the League Cup loss to Manchester United.
Yeah, possibly.
But in terms of, and I'll throw it this way to you, Rob, in terms of a little bit of old City with a little bit of Earle and Haaland City, in terms of having to play a little bit differently.
Yeah.
How about this game for being a blueprint of doing both, of getting your midfield players in the box, of playing your intricate football to find ways to score goals?
Yeah.
And in Foden, I mean, the Foden form and his fitness levels, etc., is a little bit ominous. Is that the right word? He makes them better. Ominous. Yeah. He makes them better.
Yeah.
So I just thought they were everything that we enjoyed about City before Earle and Haaland, and also he was involved. Rob, he could have scored a couple of goals. De Bruyne crosses sometimes. He makes little through balls. I thought they were excellent and made Newcastle look so average and second best that I thought this was impressive for Man City. And it's not a big statement victory, but the way that they at times can win games kind of easily, and the addition and the reintroduction of Phil Foden and his quality from the wide right, I thought worked out great. And that midfield of Gundogan and Kevin De Bruyne and Rodri, I tell you, they are still some phenomenal team.
Yeah, I've got you. I didn't quite get the same sense of how commanding it was from City. I've got the Phil Foden note. I mean, he's becoming their game changer, mate. The goals, I think we've talked about it. The goals, and I think that's 9 goals now, 4 assists in the Premier League. 2 against Man City in the Cup, 1 against Newcastle last week, 1 against Bournemouth this week. So just continuing to find the goals, whatever the game, whatever the competition. Scored goals in Champions League in Europe for them as well. It was interesting, wasn't it? Because he had a little dip. I think he's had a little bit of an injury, a bit of an ankle, and Pep said maybe he had a little dip in form, which has got to come. You know, he's been this 17-year-old kid for the last 5 years. He's been in the picture. All of a sudden, I think we're seeing the next sort of iteration of Phil Foden. Like, now he's not there. Is he in? Is he not? Is he still the young kid? He's one of the main go-to guys now. When we're in trouble, he's becoming near to the De Bruyne level of get it to Phil Foden, he'll make something happen for us. And that's the difference where I think this City team, and you're right, I looked at the midfield productivity. De Bruyne, 4 goals, 12 assists. Gundogan, 3 goals, 3 assists. Bernardo Silva, your little diamond you can bring on to change a game, Rob, if he's left side centre-back or left side midfield. He understands the system and how to play. 4 goals, 5 assists for him. Grealish, 3 goals, 4 assists. You know, if the big guy is not scoring, and I'll just have a little word with him in a minute, but if the big guy's not scoring, there's people in the team, the Mahrez, the Grealish, the Fodens, who can get goals, who can find other ways. I thought it was one of those days, and it wasn't necessarily a great Erling Haaland day. I just thought, Rob, and again, I might have saw the game differently, but as I was watching the game, I thought there was 3 big opportunities where things could be changed. They were 1-0 up City. You hadn't found the second, although we're dominating. Longstaff had a great chance. Yeah. That Ake does a brilliant block and blocks the ball. Callum Wilson should have scored. Yep. If an informed Callum Wilson scores when the ball comes across, he miskicks it, lost a little bit of confidence in front of goal. And Joe Ellington comes across the box late on and sweeps at a ball that if he makes contact with, he scores. I thought there was a couple of things where if Newcastle had got a goal, whether it's a 1-1, 1-0 to make it 1-1, even at 2-1 to make... I thought there was a little bit of frailty to City. Again, when it turns over, when those things, and it was a Newcastle team that were off the back of the League Cup. So I just wasn't as... And I heard you on the broadcast, and you were praising Pep, and it's hard not to. And I understand when they play. I just felt as though, if Newcastle, a sharper Newcastle 6 weeks ago when they were firing, I thought might have nicked a draw out of that. I just feel like City are not quite in that groove where I think they're going to go on those runs now. They're not 12 straight wins. I just don't see that right now, personally. Maybe I'm looking at it a bit different. I thought they were good. We talked the other week 4-1 against Bournemouth, but Bournemouth were we took the training team and we given them quality. But I didn't think it was. I thought it was good. I didn't think it was great at the weekend, but they got the points.
Yeah, granted the chances that Newcastle created. Agree with that, and we showed those chances. Yeah. And you've got to take those chances against City. I guess my main thoughts of the first half, Rob, and the way that Man City played through the lines of Newcastle and De Bruyne and Gundogan were those high eights that get in between the lines and are a nightmare to pick up. But no, it's a good shout. Yeah, maybe we see it a little bit differently. I just really enjoyed City, and I just thought they found a lovely balance between trying to find the big man up front, but also not forgetting what they did before him and the way that they're creating and scoring goals. But no, comfortable victory for them. Just a quick line on Newcastle, Rob, before we move on. I mean, football's crazy, isn't it? A couple of weeks ago, I'm thinking, well, the way that Newcastle are playing, the respect that they've got now, they should be a really great shout for a top 4 spot. A couple of weeks goes by. I mean, to be fair, their form has dropped off a little bit, but now you look at them now in the league table. They're 6th place right now. God, it's crazy, isn't it? If they don't finish top 4, Rob, how much of a disappointment is it going to be to the fans of the club?
It will be, because I think he's raised expectations so much in these drafts. Listen, if Eddie can bring European football of some kind to Newcastle in this season with development and growing the club, and we know that there's going to be windows where they're going to spend more and get better, I think that's still a brilliant move forward. They're still not out of it, Rob. They've played 24 games. They've got 41 points at the moment. That's 4 behind Spurs, but 2 games in hand. So, lack of goals has been the issue, hasn't it? They suddenly dried up in front of goal. Almiron's goals have dried up a little bit.
Isak's got to play.
Having a tough time. Isak's coming back.
Got to play.
Isak's got to start. I mean, I don't know. We know there's great affinity between Eddie and Callum Wilson, but Isak's got to start now, mate, and give him a go and see if he can get goals. They need to get a few goals from midfield. Could do with 1 or 2 midfield players chipping in. But just before we move on, mate, I want to give you this week's underappreciated performer of the week. Oh. And he plays for Manchester City. Now, if I was to say to you, guess, I think he'd be your 10th or 11th guess of who he is. I think if you walked around Manchester City's stadium before a game and looked for a shirt with this player's name on the back, you'd rarely find 1 or 2.
So very underappreciated. I think
over the... on a number of levels. I just think, based on, I think it's 19 or 20 appearances so far Premier League this season, as well as in the Cup, domestically and in Europe, I think he plays anywhere in the back 4. He solved the problem with left-back when Cancelo went out the door very quickly. Zinchenko was sold. He didn't really have a left-back. He's played with Laporte, with Diaz, with Stones, with Akanji, and still does all right. His managers talk to him being a diamond in training, who, whether he's playing or not, trains at the same level every week. Nathan Ake, my friend, is a man who plays for Man City who never gets a mention. I never heard anyone mention Nathan Ake since he moved to the football club. Yet. Started as a kid at Chelsea, went on loan to Reading, went on loan to Watford, went on loan originally to Bournemouth, signed by Bournemouth. Man City buying from Bournemouth, almost a bit like people saying, well, he's a decent backup, he's a good lad, he'll be a backup. He's been more than a backup, Rob, for them this season. At a time when others have been injured, others' form's gone, he's been a level of consistency. He's played in a left-back role that allows them at times to play Rico Lewis as an inverted full-back and they play 3 at the back. He can play any of the other centre-back positions. He's got a calmness about him. He makes very few errors. He made a brilliant block on Longstaff for a possible goal that Newcastle had scored yesterday. He's never going to get the headlines. He's not Phil Foden. He's not Kevin De Bruyne. He's not Earle in Holland. He's not Gundogan. He's not Mahrez, who all have their days, who all get goals and assists. He's the guy at the back who steadily goes about his business and nobody gives him a mention. Nathan Ake.
Amazing flipping monologue of Earle's love for Nathan Ake, and it's not about shit. It's a good. Yeah, I get it. I get it. I totally get it. I mean, he is underappreciated. He's not really loved when you got so many other glitzy, glamorous players there. But yeah, I can't argue, Rob. I can't argue. Does a very solid job in different spots. And when he signed him, it's like, oh, okay, that's all right for a squad player. No, not bad, mate. I didn't see that coming. Didn't see that coming. So well played, Nathan Ake. Well played, Man City. Yeah, good shout. All right, move it on, my friend.
Yeah. Let's move it to Tottenham Hotspur. Well, somebody said they're either a dream or a nightmare, Tottenham. You don't quite know which. I mean, a 1-0 loss to Wolves after a 1-0 loss in the FA Cup against Sheffield United, wasn't it, midweek? So, well, I'll have to go down as a bad week for Tottenham, and all the talk of, the big stars who are going to be there. Is Harry Kane still going to be there? Is he going to want to move on? That's starting to do the rounds. Will Antonio Conte want to be there? Will he want to move on? That's starting to do the rounds. Conte is talking about he wants to be back next week. They've got the game against Milan in the Cup Matchweek, which is huge now for Tottenham. That's on Wednesday. And then they go next week to... next week, Tottenham,
Forest at home. Forest at home.
Forest at home, yeah, which you would never know with which Tottenham's going to be. But big week for Spurs. Where are we with Tottenham, Rob? And, the team that can beat City one week, the team that can go to Wolves who can't score and get beat 1-0. And, if Harry Kane doesn't have a great day, there's not too much else happening from a forward point of view. Sonny was back in, Richarlison out this week, but didn't particularly change too much up there. I think Dyer was rested, wasn't he, for this one, from Spurs' point of view. Whether that's resting him for the cup or what, I do not know. Where are we with Tottenham, mate?
Well, I think this is one of those, Rob, that you're either glass half full or half empty. We've seen some good weeks from Spurs, and when you've got Antonio Conte in charge, I do get a sense of there's a proper leader in charge of the football club. And my sensible head says it's going to take a little bit of time to get the individuals in spots to push them to the next level. They're going to continue to grind. They're going to continue to fight for that top 4, I feel, all the way through. We know what attacking players they've got. Richarlison dropped to the bench for this one, Rob, again, and your man, Heung-min Son, got a starting position. It's obviously more than about those front players. We can talk about those front players, but the team's performance isn't really about those front players. They can do it. It's about what's behind and the inconsistencies, and there's sometimes the progressive nature of the football, sometimes not. Which, this is one of that big old window of games. So I didn't get a real detailed look at Spurs this weekend, as opposed to other weekends.
Porro and Perisic in the wide areas, wasn't it?
Yeah, which is what the manager wants. They're Antonio Conte signings. Yeah. He knows them. He knows all about them. In Italian football and stuff, so it's a crazy result. But you, like you said, you got European games during the week. The big question, Rob, that we have to consider is the manager, and we know he's been out for a little while, and we know that his contract is up in the summer, and I don't know what goes on in the background. Who's starting negotiations, who's pushing negotiations, who's delaying it.
Yeah.
Two parts to the same question, really. But do you think he will sign an extension, and do you think it's the right move if the two connect again on a new contract?
I think if there's Champions League football at Tottenham, I think you have a good chance of him staying. I think without Champions League football, I think that's where he sees himself, Rob, and I think there'd be plenty of suitors, certainly back in Italy, that would take a chance on him. And that's the same question. I'd almost, Rob, and I don't like going down the Harry Kane, but, a week like this for Harry Kane, where he is in the stage of his life, the record Spurs goal scorer now after Jimmy Greaves. He's chasing the 260 goals of Alan Shearer for the all-time Premier League goal score record. Do weeks like this, Rob, make him think, do you know what, if I'm going to win something, I can still win something and chase that record if I stay in England, go to another Premier League club. Do weeks like this at all affect his decision-making, or do you think he's a Spurs guy, he's going to sign a contract, he's going to finish his career there, he's going to be known as a one-club legend who's going to score millions of goals for Spurs and chase down Alan Shearer? Or do you think, like, losing the FA Cup, which was the last real chance, unless, they have miracles in the Champions League to win it, that real chance of silverware again at 30 years of age, do you think Harry Kane sits at home and thinks about that?
I do, Rob. I do. And we know that he wanted to move to Man City before. The club didn't allow him to go, where we feel there was some kind of conversation with Daniel Levy about letting him leave after this season in the stadium, this season with Mourinho, then another season and another season. Looking at the top of the league table, Rob, there's one move that stands out, and one move only.
Yeah.
That's Manchester United. It's Manchester United.
Yeah.
He's not going to Arsenal. Man City have got their guy. Man United need a
Chelsea
number 9.
Would be interesting, but he isn't going to Chelsea. I don't think
he's going to Chelsea because of the two clubs and the rivalry between them. Liverpool have got tons of excellent players in those front positions. Newcastle United, too early a project. He's not. I think he wants to go somewhere to win. Yeah. So that's the move. Now, who knows with contracts and with the club and Daniel Levy and Harry Kane. Is it getting to the point it's now or never though in the summer?
I think he knows that though, Rob. I think he knows that.
Do you
it's
really
this
think,
summer or not, isn't it?
But why would it happen this summer? Why?
Because he'll have a year left on his contract, so if they want to get money for him, they'll get a decent fee. He'll go to a club where he believes he can win some silverware and, I'm sure Harry Kane, and we know, listen, that footballers will always say, they don't listen to media and that. Of course he knows. Of course everybody telling him that you've never won a trophy. You've won all the golden boots and all those things, but never won a trophy. That's got to hurt him, Rob. That's got to play on his mind. He's got to be thinking, right, I have a chance to change that. I have one more big opportunity to change that, where he's young enough, where he'll earn Spurs some money, so he's done them proud, he's been one of their own, he's come through the ranks, he's earned the money. Now I'm going to go and continue trying to get this Alan Shearer record, but I'm going to try and win a trophy or two.
Listen, I totally agree with all that, Rob, but the facts are this. I'll tell you what's going to happen. Nothing's going to happen, Rob. The club aren't going to let him go. The club are not going to let Harry Kane leave the club this summer. Whether Antonio Conte wants to stay on, whether it's a condition that he stays on, whether somebody else comes, Tottenham Hotspur without Harry Kane, when you look at the front areas, are so much weaker. Why would you let him go now when you can think, what?
His contract's up. His contract's up in a year. He can walk. No, but he can walk away in a year. Great. So you say you'll keep him one more year and then you let him go.
Yeah. And at that point, Rob, in a year's time, where he knows he can walk away from the football club, I don't know whether at 31, I don't know whether anybody else is going to be busting a gut to sign him at that point. They might.
You'd still take him, mate. I would still take him. How he drops in and he's not relying on pace.
But if you're Daniel Levy, are you thinking, the chances are, we'll keep him. We'll just keep him one more window. Then after that, he might just want to stay here and he might be on his way down a little bit in terms of his performance level. I don't know. I just have no. And what you say about Harry Kane and what he must feel about trophies and other, of course, but it didn't happen before. I don't see it happening again. Just to say, let's get some money for Harry Kane because his contract's up in a year. I think they'll swallow that. He doesn't owe him anything. They don't need to get money for Harry Kane for what he's done for them over a long period of time. I feel bad for Harry Kane.
We're talking about Daniel Levy. That's a very different man. He'll want money, mate. He ain't looking after the player.
Yeah, but he also wants his man.
He ain't looking after the player.
No, he's not looking after the player, agreed. But in terms of, does he want the money? I think he wants the player to attract another manager or another project. A project without Kane after this summer, who's going to take that? So I don't know. That's my concern about Kane, and it's a sad story.
It is a sad story, but a couple of big decisions for Spurs,
Yes.
and a lot will depend on if they can make it in the top four. But a big week as well with Champions League coming up this week against Milan. Got to deal with that first before they face Forest next weekend. Let's talk to a man who needed a result, who got a goal finally for Chelsea. Chelsea won, Leeds 0. Graham Potter gets a win. Fofana with a header from a corner was enough. Got a bit edgy at times, a little bit nervy. But they got the job done. A little bit of pressure off for Graham Potter, or as we go into a week with Dortmund lined up for this week. I think that's a Tuesday night game.
Yes.
And then they go away to Leicester next weekend. Leicester team that will be fighting to get some points down at the wrong end of the table. Better week. I mean, could he enjoy a nice glass of red, sit at home and maybe not know that the social media is going to be so bad on him, Graham Potter, 1-0 win against Leeds? Or is it ahead just on Dortmund and Leicester? And, where is he? Where are we with Graham Potter after the win?
He might get a little glass of wine, Rob. Maybe get a little glass of wine, but he won't have any more than one glass because, of course, the most important thing, and we said it, I'm not going to criticise the performance or whatever. You win the game, that's what they needed to do. Winning games takes pressure off, it changes, it gives them more time, starts to change the perception, etc., etc., etc. So winning was absolutely key. Did they play great? No. Did they look nervous when they're 1-0 up in terms of protecting it? Yes. Is that natural? Yes. So many more steps to go. This is a very important one. Can they start to... And it's probably too early. Can they start to think about a foundation, about a bit of a system, a little bit of a setup that they can start to build from? That's what they need to do instead of looking again for different. We had 3 at the back this time, which, by the way, Rob,
it was
I do tend to think that helps them, not necessarily with the players that played in this game, but when I look at Ben Chilwell, I look at Reece James. I see those two fullbacks have been really great going forward. And if 3 centre-backs allow them to play higher, fullbacks in a back four can still play high, but there is a sense that you've got to be a bit more cautious. To allow those two to play further up with 3 at the back, I think makes sense. You've got 2, Kovacic and N'Golo Kante and Enzo Fernandez. You can always have 2, a really good 6 pairing in there. And then a front 3 from all the blimmin' attackers and players they've got. So I did like the system change. I'd like him to stick to something the same way. But the main thing is, more than anything else about systems or anything, that they won. And that buys them a little bit of time. And it starts to claw at let's try and get this club back on its feet again. They're 10th place in the league table right now, Rob, as you said. They got this massive game on Tuesday. Could this win against Leeds and Dortmund a Champions League victory, if they win that game, Rob, and they go through, then yes, that really is a big jump up in terms of improvement in moving this thing to get into the right direction, start moving in the right direction. So all eyes on the Champions League against Borussia Dortmund on Tuesday afternoon. But well done, Potter. Finally, needed, much needed.
As I was watching the game, Rob, and it was a bit nervy, and I think we're all nervy for them that they scored the goal, but it didn't look how they were going to end on. Leeds had a couple of chances late on that went close and could have gone the other way. Look, unfortunately from their point of view, but I did notice, and I don't know whether I just picked it up more because I was watching the game, watching him, but he went off on the touchline a lot, Rob. He was pointing and he was cajoling him, he's getting people in, and it's not. I'm not saying that's not him because he does do that, but he's naturally more of a sit-down guy. Go and have a little bit of word, sit down. It was like he understood, in maybe some nervous energy coming out as well. But anyway, so pleased for him. Got the win. I think it's good for the team. I think it'll just take a little bit of pressure off the team. Even some top class players, Rob, you can see are starting to feel a little bit of the tension that the whole situation's brought, and that's not helpful for Potter, the team or the fans. So a win is a win. It's a start. Like you say, if they can go back to back, a win against Dortmund, get through in the Champions League, and then address a little bit of league form that they've got 1 or 2 winnable games. All of a sudden, it could change and it could spark and they could get a little bit of something going and, have a deepish run in the Champions League, and who knows where they could go in there, because they have got the quality, and if they can get people back in the team, it could look very different. So enjoy your glass of red, Graham, whatever it was on Saturday night, and then get back to work tomorrow, because massive game coming up on Tuesday night against Dortmund.
Yeah, and just a quick mention for Wesley Fofana. Rob scored the goal. I thought he looked really good. I'm a big fan of Wesley Fofana. I know that big injury to come back, but I think he's going to be a really, really good player, an important player for Chelsea. Okay, Rob, just in terms of the other games to kind of run around real quick, I am going to jump to the Forest-Everton game. That was the first game this morning, Sunday game. It finished 2-2. But first off, I thought the game was really, really good. I enjoyed Everton, Rob. I enjoyed Everton. I enjoyed the midfield of Everton. I enjoyed Amadou Onana and Abdoulaye Doucouré, the two midfield players that it looks like, and I like it from Sean Dyche, that he's saying, number 9, bit of a problem at number 9. Where else can we get goals? Because in modern day football, goals should come from different areas. And those two players, Rob, I mean, we can talk about McNeil and Iwobi and whether they ever get big numbers of goals or whether they ever contribute as enough as they should do. But in Onana and Doucouré, well, there's another avenue. Yeah. And let's not play out from the back. And by the way, next time you watch Everton, he is not interested in playing out. Just get it in their half, we'll win the second ball, and we'll play from there, and we're going to get the ball into the box. They filled the box many times with numbers, particularly those two central midfield players, and I just thought, there you go, that's a way to try and get more production in the final third, because that's obviously what they need. They didn't get the victory, and they want to defend and do better than that, but I kind of liked it. I thought the game was good, and I think that approach is a smart one from Dyche.
Yeah, like it. I just thought there was good energy about Everton, Rob. From a team that at times you're looking, you're scratching your head. You say from midfield, there looks to be a bit of legs in there. Go on and can sit and protect a little bit better. Sometimes he's a little bit loose with his passing. But in fairness, I thought Forest were good, had a good response. Brennan Johnson's is a little quality little operator in midfield who's going to get goals. Him and Gibbs White have got a really nice relationship. Chris Woods is a bit of a different foil for them, but gives them a bit of an option. And Forest, it's another good point for Forest. I think it's something like 9 or 10 now unbeaten at home in the Premier League on a really good run. I think United were the last team that went and beat them. So on a good run at home, that's key to staying up. It's another precious point for Steve Cooper and his men. So it was a really good game. Two teams down who were down at maybe the wrong end of the table, certainly from Everton's point of view. But no, good energy from Everton. I thought, like you, that's a bit of a game plan to get them out of trouble. For Forest, if they can continue picking up points and showing the dangers with the transitions, often when they break play up and attack quickly, if they can keep Johnson fit, mate, they've got a chance.
Yes, absolutely right, Rob. And as you know, and you stole my thunder a little bit there, with my underappreciated performers, I do try and look for those that are underappreciated, yes, but they're also ones to watch out for. And Brennan Johnson is my this weekend's underappreciated performer / keep an eye on this guy, because that's 7 Premier League goals now. He's only 21 years of age, a Wales international player, was great last year for them, and a player that stepped up to the Premier League level at 21 and looks like a threat, and his ability is what catches the eye for me, Rob. The talent that he's got, the finish where he sticks it in the top corner. I just think he's a talented player, and a lot of clubs I think will be watching him, Rob. We'll see how Forest do, and it looks like they may have enough to stay in the division. I actually kind of like what Steve Cooper is doing there. Very difficult position, very difficult job. I think he's got like 8 injuries now as well. But Brennan Johnson is a little underappreciated in the league in whole. If our Premier League fans don't watch a lot of Forest when they're on the TV, well, when they play your team, watch him. Excellent player. Number 20, I think he is. He had a great game today, both goals, and one for the future. So he's my shout for this weekend.
Yeah,
all right,
good
Rob.
Shout. We've seen plenty of forwards, haven't we, come from the Championship and struggled to make a mark. He's definitely made a mark. With his, I just think he's an intelligent. He's got a really good football IQ around the box. That's one of the things I really like, as well as the goals have obviously been impressive. But his movement around the box is smart.
His talent.
Good shout. Couple of other results, mate. Let's just wrap it up. I tell you, it was close to my underappreciated, and I'm not sure if he's underappreciated or not. Roberto De Zerbi at Brighton, mate. Yeah. Brighton 4, West Ham 0. I mean, incredible things. He's turning, he's turning potter ball to power ball, isn't he? I mean, he's getting goals, he's getting productivity. Big, is it Ethan Ferguson, the big centre forward for Brighton? I tell you, mate, he's another little one under the radar. Keeps, big centre forward. Good technique, gets his goals, leads the line well, clever footballer, and he's finding ways, isn't he? Get the goals as well as playing the football. Incredible stuff for them, and they sit 8th in the table, mate. 23 games played, 38 points.
I was very lucky to interview Paul Barber, the chief executive of the football club, and they think that they've got a special manager in De Zerbi. They think that. I mean, they've got a list of positions for in terms of replacing players and staff that leave the football club. They feel they got a special manager. So in some ways, it's amazing to see what he's doing in terms of taking it on from the manager and Graham Potter and taking it forward. Just another side note, just somebody to watch for the future. They are particularly excited for a young kid that they've got recently. Facundo Buonanotte was on the bench, Rob. He's had some minutes for Brighton, but I think he's one of them that came into their club. I haven't got his age here. I think he's a teenager, but he's one of them that they said came into our club, started training, and I think De Zerbi almost said he's ready to start. So Buonanotte, a young kid, another, I think South America somewhere. They got so many good players from that area. Such a clever recruitment strategy of targeting countries that aren't the big clubs, aren't targeting so much. Costa Rica, is it? Okay.
18-year-old Costa Rican.
Yeah, well,
Buonanotte.
I'm just watching. Every time I'm watching the team sheet, is he starting, is he on the bench? He's somebody that they are really high on, apart from everybody else, by the way, including the World Cup champion Alexis McAllister that scores from the penalty spot in this game.
Caicedo signed a new deal now, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Caicedo signed a deal this week, apparently, for 4 or 5 years.
West Ham, Robbie Earle, David Moyes, message coming out that he's safe. What are we thinking on Moisey?
He's got credit in the bank, mate. It's not a lot. It's starting to wane a little bit, but there's enough credit in the bank to see him through. But you don't want too many of those, mate. You don't want too many off days like that, and maybe a bad week, because they've got Europa League coming up. He's got Larnaca, haven't they, in the Europa League. You don't want like a bad European defeat and a couple of Premier League defeats, because that would put him under a little bit of pressure, and the credit would soon go out of the bank. But Moisey will be okay. He's a survivor. He knows how to get through it. Aston Villa won, Crystal Palace won. My friend Unai Emery gets the win, courtesy of I think it was an Anderson own
1-0. You said 1-1.
1-0,
wasn't it? 1-0.
Sorry, 1-0. Yeah. 1-0 Villa. Yeah, Villa win 1-0. Good win for Unai Emery and his team. You just get the sense they're going to be fine, Villa under Unai Emery. Palace, a little bit of a worry, mate. And when you look down at that towards the bottom of the table now, and 5 points between bottom 3 and 12th in the league, which is where Crystal Palace sit on 27 points. Long time since Palace won a game. I don't think they've won in 2023.
They draw a lot. They draw a lot of games. I still think they're going to be okay. But I think from them down, anybody is not safe right now. 27 points they've got at the moment. Palace, they're struggling a little bit, of course. Villa, Villa quietly going about their improvement, and Unai Emery's doing a good job there. Well done, 1-0 for them. And is this the last game? Southampton 1, Leicester City 0. Yeah. Your phrase last year, I think, was I don't know, it was now, sleepwalking their way to relegation. Leicester City, Rob, are they thinking that they're too good for relegation? Are they in danger, even though that Maddison is back now and still looks $1 million? Are they under pressure?
They are. They may believe they're not, and they probably have got too much quality in a one-off game if necessary against teams down there that they should get results. Although they didn't do it against Southampton. Yes, they are in danger, because I think everybody at that football club is not thinking they can go down, and that's never a good thing. It's never a good thing. The manager will feel it, the owners will feel it, the players will feel it. I think most of the fans will feel it. We won't go down. We got Maddison, and we got Barnes, and we got and we got Iheanacho and Ndidi. Well, we can't go down. We've seen that before, mate. Need to get a few results pretty quickly. I think they got Chelsea, isn't it, next week? At home to Chelsea next week.
Have they? Leicester, yeah, they have. Yeah, it's a USA game, 10 o'clock Eastern time next Saturday. Yeah, Chelsea at home. So, wow, yeah, they got a tough little run. Listen, Rob, before you wrap it up, I just think it's a good time to take a breath and just appreciate the league that we work on and how lucky we are to work in this league. It was another weekend of everything, of stories, of emotions, of atmospheres, of comebacks, of incredible scorelines. I mean, another weekend that shows off this Premier League. It's pretty amazing, and we're so lucky that, you know, it's a competitive league as it is. When you can get a 7-0, I mean, it was just a jaw-dropping weekend that was great to be a part of, and it's wonderful to cover this league.
Absolutely, and it's one of them, Rob. But to your point, where, you know, I wasn't on this week. You can't wait to get on the poddy and get started because you want to get into 7 goals of Liverpool. And my other thought this week, and it didn't fit, and I thought I'm shoehorning it, but at some point I was going to try and make it my underappreciated performer of the week. I was going to make it the league, but I don't think it is underappreciated.
No, it's not.
But it's just that you just never know, mate, do you?
No.
You never know from week to week, from good United to, you know, Bournemouth beating somebody, to Southampton beating Chelsea to Leeds having a day. It's just you just never know. And you know, it's a great point. Leicester City. If Leicester City think they're too good to go down, let's hold that thought and let's have another conversation in May. Because unless they pull their finger out and start getting some points on the board, they're going to find themselves in a difficult place.
Fulham,
and that is
Fulham,
what's
Rob,
great
as well.
About the league, mate.
You got Fulham in 7th place. You got 8
Fulham,
Brighton, and Brentford.
Brentford tomorrow. Yeah.
Amazing,
incredible.
Amazing.
Well done, the Premier League. And we got a race at the top, mate. Arsenal holding their nerve with City chasing. Liverpool, they rolled back the years, put 7 past Manchester United. We're going to be back on Wednesday. That's March 8th, this Wednesday, March 8th. We'll look back at 2 Champions League games with English clubs. Chelsea play Dortmund, Spurs play Milan. Both have got work to do. But for now, I'm Earle. He's Mustoe, together with the 2 Robbies. Thanks for watching and listening. Be safe, stay healthy. It's a good night from me.
And it's good night from him. Good night.
Good night.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos all season long. For even more Premier League content, from original series to live matches, head over to Peacock and be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend on USA Network and on Peacock. We will see you over there.